The BOT-2, or the Berdinsky-Osersky Test of Motor Proficiency, second edition, was created by Robert H. Berdinsky and Brett D. Berdinsky. It was published in 2005. It is a standardized norm reference assessment with the purpose to provide a comprehensive index of motor proficiency and provide separate measures for both fine and gross motor skills. The population that the assessment can be used for is for children and youth ages 4 to 21. The time required to complete the assessment is approximately 20 to 25 minutes, with about 10 minutes to set up the area and about 10 minutes to score the assessment. User qualifications include that the assessment can be administered by therapists, educators, and researchers, but they must have a background and knowledge in the test administration, an understanding of development, and they must review the booklet and the training video provided with the assessment. So today we'll be administering the short form of the assessment. The short form contains 14 items with at least one item from each of the subtest categories. The subtest categories include fine motor precision, fine motor integration, manual dexterity, bilateral coordination, so use of both sides of the body, balance, running, speed and agility, as well as upper limb coordination and strength. And the goal of the short form test is to test the broadest range of motor proficiency and provide sufficiently reliable scores while still completing the test in a shorter time frame. Throughout the assessment and before beginning the assessment, as with all assessments, it is recommended that the therapist establishes therapeutic rapport and is professional. So in order to do this, they want to create a positive and friendly relationship with the examinee or their client. So when the client first walks in, they want to be friendly, honest, open, use appropriate language, and just take a couple minutes to talk to the client and make them feel more comfortable prior to being assessed. So during this time, they can ask the client basic questions that they would need to fill out the beginning of the assessment form if they didn't have that information coming in from medical records or from a referral. They can just get to know the client, see what their interests are, and make them feel more comfortable. To assure that the assessment follows standardization, it's also important to remember that the therapist or whoever is administering the test must follow the bolded wording in the examiner easel while they are administering the test. When they're teaching the test and the tasks that will be assessed, they can speak freely in a way that allows the examinee to understand what the task is. Prior to the client arriving to be assessed using the BOT, the therapist should make sure that they have the proper environment and the proper equipment. So they want to make sure that they're administering the test in a noise and distraction-free environment, and that there is adequate space available to complete the assessment. So with the short form, not as much space is required as with the long form. However, there still needs to be a good amount of space for the client to be able to walk and jump around. There also needs to be a table with at least 2 chairs, 1 chair for the examinee and 1 chair for the examiner or the therapist. The therapist should make sure to gather all the supplies prior to the examination. So a lot of the supplies come with the BOT assessment. They'll need to, for the short form, they will need to gather the red pencil, the examinee booklet, pennies, the penny mat, tape, a balance beam, tennis ball, and a kneeling mat. And it would be helpful to have some of those things require a little bit of setup. So the therapist would want to set that up beforehand. So they're going to need to place the tape on the ground, maybe have the balance beam on the ground as well. They were going to want to put the penny mat together because it does come in 2 pieces, just to make the assessment go quicker and very smoothly. I'm Elizabeth. I'm going to be your occupational therapist today. So it's so nice to meet you.
You too.
So, do you know what occupational therapy is? Do you know what you're going to be doing today? No. Okay. So, OT is what we usually call it. It's therapy that helps you get back to doing anything that you need to do or you want to do. So today we're going to look at your motor performance. So that's like physical activities, things like walking, running, as well as things like picking up your pencil and doing small tasks with your fingers. All right? Okay. So you're 15, right?
Yeah.
So are you still in high school?
Yeah.
What grade are you in? 10th grade. Very cool. I like the 10th grade. I think it was my favorite grade in high school. Good, I'm glad to hear it. And when's your birthday?
January 23rd, 2004.
Very nice. Do you like having a winter birthday?
Yeah, that's nice.
I like the snow and stuff.
Yeah, I like the winter.
It's very cool. My birthday's in the summer, but I think I'm more of a winter fan. Okay, so do you need anything before we start the assessment?
No.
Okay. We're going to begin that. We're going to start by copying shapes. So we're going to start the assessment. So before we start the assessment, I just want to make sure you know you want to use your dominant hand, so the hand you usually write with, to do the assessment. And this is the booklet right here. Here's the pencil. Draw a line on the path from the car to the house. Take your time and try to stay in the lines. Ready? Begin. Thank you. Now you try it. Fold the corner of the paper on the line. Now fold the other corners the same way. Now fold it on this line. Thank you. Draw this shape here. Make it look just the same. Ready? Begin. Thank you. Draw this shape here. Make it look just the same. Ready? Begin. Thank you. Okay, so look at the boy in the picture. Do you see how he's the same things in front of you? Do you see how he's picking up the pennies in one hand and moving it to his other hand and then putting the penny in the box? That's what I want you to do. Go ahead. Stop. The picture. Here, he's standing with his feet apart. One leg is to the front and the other leg is to the back. His arms are lifted up. The arm in front is on the same side of his body as the front leg. The arm in the back is on the same side of his body as the leg in the back. He's going to jump, switching his arms and legs. Then he lands on the floor. See, the arm and the leg that were in front are now in the back, and the arm and leg that were in the back are now in the front. Do you see how he's jumping? That's what I want you to do. Okay, so you want to stand up. You're going to go like this. Okay, you want to try? Go ahead. Move a little bit away from the table. There we go. Try again. Okay, thank you. I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Stop. Okay, and let's go back and take a seat. So look at the girl in the picture. She's sitting at the table holding out these fingers. Her one finger is touching the table and her foot on the other side of her body is flat on the floor. The finger is off the table and this foot is off the floor. Then she lifts up the finger that was on the table and the foot that was on the floor. She touches this finger to the table and puts this foot flat on the floor. Do you see how she's tapping her feet and fingers? That's what I want you to do. Okay, so you're gonna put your fingers out on the table, just like this, and you're gonna tap one finger down on the table and your foot down to the floor. Finger down to the table, foot to the floor. Table, floor. Okay. So now I want you to tap your feet and fingers until I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Stop. Look at the girl in the picture. Here, she's standing with one foot on the line and her other foot is next to the line. Her hands are on her sides. Then she steps forward, putting her foot on the line. Do you see how she's standing on the line? That's what I want you to do. Okay, so you want to stand up. So you're going to start on the line, and then you're just going to step forward. Good. You can go back to the beginning. Thank you. Now I want you to walk on the line until I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Stop. Thank you. You can sit back down. In the picture, he's standing on one leg on the beam. His other leg is bent, his hands are at his side, and his eyes are closed. Do you see how he's standing on one leg on the beam with his eyes closed?
Yes.
That's what I want you to do. Okay, so if you want to stand up with me, we're going to practice now. Okay, so I just want you to stand with one leg on the beam, your hands on your hips, your eyes closed. Ooh. See, I lost my balance a little, but I want you to try and stay as still as possible. Okay, do you want to practice? Put your hands on your hips. Nice. Okay, we're gonna do it again now. Okay, so stand on one leg on the beam until I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Okay, she got 7 seconds. Let's try again. Stand on one leg on the beam until I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Okay, thank you. You can sit back down now. Okay, so look at the boy in the picture. Here, he's standing on one leg next to the line. His other leg is bent and his hands are on his sides. Next, he jumps over the line, landing on the other side. He keeps his legs bent and his hands on his sides. Do you see how he's jumping with one leg over the line?
Yes.
That's what I want you to do. So do you want to stand up?
I'll go with this one.
Okay, Erin, so I want you to stand with one leg next to the line. Okay, and the other leg bent. And then you're just going to hop over the line. Okay, do you want to try it? Go ahead. Okay, you can put your foot down. Thank you. So get into that same position. Now I want you to hop up and down on one leg over the line until I tell you to stop. Ready? Okay, begin.
I couldn't do it.
Let's try again. So I want you to put one foot next to the line and to hop over the line and back over, okay? Continuously. Doesn't have to be big hops, just little hops. Over the line, back over. Until I tell you to stop. Okay, ready? Hop up and down on one leg until I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Stop.
I got tired.
Okay, Erin, you can sit back down. Thank you. Look at the boy in the picture. Here, he's holding a ball out in front of his body. Next, he drops the ball and lets it bounce on the floor. Then, he leans over to catch the ball with both hands. Before it bounces again, do you see how he's dropping and catching the ball with both hands?
Yeah.
That's what I want you to do. Okay, so do you want to stand up? And we're gonna practice. So you're gonna put your legs shoulder width apart, have your arms out in front of you. You're gonna drop the ball to the floor and catch it before it bounces again. Okay, so now I want you to try. Okay, now try it again. Drop and catch the ball with both hands. Ready? Begin. And stop. Okay, Erin, let's sit back down. Okay. Look at the girl in the picture. Here, she's holding the ball in one hand out in front of her body. Next, she drops the ball and lets it bounce on the floor. Then, she hits the ball with the other hand so it bounces again. She's dribbling the ball, changes hands each time she hits the ball. Do you see how she's dribbling the ball with both hands? Okay, that's what I want you to do.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to stand up. So you're gonna drop the ball, hit it with the other hand, drop the ball, hit it with the other hand. Back and forth, okay?
Okay.
You try. Okay, good. Thank you. You can stop now. Okay. Ready? When you're ready. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Dribble the ball, changing hands with each dribble until I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Stop. Thank you. Let's sit back down. Okay, Erin, look at the girl in the picture. Here, she's kneeling on the pad with her hands on the floor. Her knees are bent, her legs are crossed, and her back is straight. Then she bends her arms and lowers her body until it almost touches the floor. She's doing knee push-ups. Do you see what she's doing?
Yeah.
That's what I want you to do. I'm just going to get you a red pad. Okay, so you come over here. You're going to put your knees on the red pad, right? Put your arms out in front of you. Lower your body all the way down to the ground so it almost touches the floor and back up. Okay?
Okay.
Do you want to try?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. You're ready. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I want you to do knee push-ups until I tell you to stop. Ready, Erin?
Mm-hmm.
Do knee push-ups until I tell you to stop. Ready?
Yep.
Begin. do sit-ups now. So look at the boy in the picture. He's lying on his back, his knees are bent, and his feet are on the floor. His arms are at his side. Then he lifts his back up and puts his arms off the floor. He reaches for his knees with his hands. He's doing sit-ups. Do you see how he's doing sit-ups?
Yep.
That's what I want you to do, okay? So, I'm going to stand back up. So, I want you to lie down, your back on the floor, your arms at your side, just like this, okay? You're going to reach up for your knees.
Okay.
It's one sit-up, okay? Cool. Maybe move a little more towards me. All right. Do you want to try one out?
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead. All right, thank you. Do sit-ups until I tell you to stop. Ready? Begin. Stop.
I think
Thank you, Erin. You can come sit back down now. So that's the end of the assessment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. You're free to go home now. It was so nice to meet you.
You too. Thank you.
I'll be getting back to you and your parents pretty soon.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
There are several steps to scoring an assessment. So first there's the raw score, which is the score that the individual gets based off of their performance and what the therapist observes. We found the definition on our page 162 of our textbook. Then you convert the raw score to a standard score, and that allows for a comparison between assessments as well as comparing the performer to a standardized group. The standardized score that we found was on page 197 of the assessment manual. Then there's percentiles, which is on a scale of 1 to 100% and where they fall within that range. A percentile is how many people scored below the test taker's score and what percentage scored above that score. This also allows us to use descriptive information to help also rank the assessment scores. For instance, we found that Erin's score was below average, and that is one of the topics of descriptive information. On our manual, it was page 29 that we found the chart for descriptive information. For other pages in the manual, we used norm tables, which was in Appendix B, and we used page 85, and the scaled score corresponding to subtests was pages 86 to 144. Erin received 6 points for tracing the path from the car to the house. She made one error, which cost her the full amount of available points. For the folding paper task, Erin received 3 points. When comparing the creases she folded to the lines that she was meant to fold on, she strayed from those areas slightly, which cost her several points. When scoring the copying of the square, Erin got 5 points because her basic shape, orientation, overall size, closure, and edges were adequately drawn. When scoring the copying of the square, Erin got 5 points because her basic shape, orientation, overall size, closure, and edges were adequately drawn. In order to score the short form of the bot, you must add up the point scores for each performed task. Then you'll be able to find the standardized scores. Short form point score for a female who did knee push-ups is 196. Is 15 years old, so we go down to her point score, which was 61, and over this way is the standard score, which would be a 35, and then over here is the percentile rank, and that is the 7th percentile. Where is that? Right there. Level C3 is what we're going to use to find our confidence interval, preferably 95% confidence interval for the short form standard scores, and we're doing sex specific because we use sex specific for the standard score. So C3 is on page 214. Okay. So Erin is 15 and we're trying to find a 95% confidence interval. So we did the short form with knee push-ups. So that means the 95% interval would be a 7. 35 minus 7 is 28, and 35 plus 7 is 42. So that is the interval. According to table 4.1, she is below average because her score was 31 to 40, hers was a 35, and she is in the 7th percentile, so okay.
Now we're just going to talk about a frame of reference that would relate well to the bot. We chose the motor skill acquisition frame of reference, and we chose this frame of reference because the bot test is looking at motor performance and motor proficiency, and the motor skill acquisition frame of reference is concerned with ways that a therapist can go about improving their clients' motor skills and motor performance, and they would do this typically through adapting a task and the environment so that way it matches the child's abilities. But the bot could be used to identify the areas that the child is having difficulty in terms of motor skills. So that could specifically assess each of the different subcategories, including fine and gross motor skills. And then the results of the bot are going to be norm referenced and standardized. So this would serve as a good way for the therapist to tell if the child is far behind developmentally or ahead developmentally. And then they could use this information to help them improve their development so that way they reach normal development. They can also pick skills that they're good at or maybe a little weak at, and they can work around those skills so that way they're trying to improve their motor skills within the zone of proximal development, which is one of the ideas of the motor skill acquisition frame of reference. In terms of reliability and validity of the assessment, the results were obtained from the manual of the bot, specifically from Chapter 6. The results stated that the reliability of the short form was high and that the main impact of reliability of the assessment was human error on the therapist's part, as well as examinee attention and motivation. So as the examinee loses attention and motivation, the reliability of the assessment is going to decrease. The intra-rater mean score short form reliability with knee push-ups was very high with a 0.98, and the intra-rater mean score short form reliability with full push-ups was also high with a 9.7. The short form total reliability was a little bit lower with a score in the mid 80s, and this type of reliability would be considered adequate, so it's okay, but it could be better. In terms of comparison to the full bot reliability, the short form just had an overall reliability a little bit lower than the full form. The full form motor composite score reliability was in the high 90s, which is considered highly reliable. In terms of validity, the assessment was proven to be valid in terms of test content, and it has a high test content validity, so that means that the assessment is testing and looking at what it says it's going to. So it's giving a good assessment of the motor skills, both fine and gross. The concurrent validity of the assessment is a 0.74, which is considered to be acceptable, but once again, it could be better. And concurrent validity is comparing the assessment to similar measures, which look at the same thing. Specifically, this assessment was compared to the TVMS, or the test of visual motor skills. Potential biases in terms of the BOT include contextual, cultural, and disability biases. So contextually, a therapist could make a mistake when counting the amount of times the client or the examinee does a certain action within a set amount of time. So while the client was hopping back and forth over the line of tape in the center of the room, the therapist could accidentally count one less or one more hop than the client actually performed, and this would thus affect the scoring of the assessment and the overall accuracy of the results. Culturally, a child who maybe isn't as exposed to sports and motor tasks because of their culture might be at a disadvantage to a child who has had a lot of experience participating in these types of tasks as they're growing up. So if you're 10 years old and your parents were really into sports and you grow up playing sports, playing catch, pogo sticking around, you might be better at the gross motor skills rather than a child whose parents have them doing other tasks instead of gross motor skills and things like playing sports. In terms of disability bias, a child with a learning disability may be able to complete the tasks required of the assessment, but they might have a difficult time learning and understanding the teaching part of the assessment. So if the therapist doesn't teach the assessment and the task that the client is going to be assessed on in a way that they can understand it, it's not going to accurately reflect their skills and abilities. So this could happen for children who have maybe ADHD and they're having a hard time paying attention, maybe with a processing disorder, like an auditory processing disorder. Maybe they need to see written directions out in front of them, not just the visual steps that are shown on the assessment easel, stuff like that. And it is possible for the therapist to try and accommodate for their disabilities. However, it's also possible that the therapist might not accommodate in the correct way, or the accommodation might not be enough for the child.